You ready? You good? Okay. Good evening, and welcome to the March 5th meeting of the City of Vista Planning Commission. Would you all please rise and join us in the pledge led by Commissioner Hastings?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Ms. Romero.
Thank you. Chair Rossler. Vice Chair Grimm. Commissioner DeJesus.
Here.
Commissioner Hastings.
Here.
Commissioner Looney. Commissioner Savage.
Here.
Student Commissioner Ortega. Absent. Student Commissioner Tanako. Absent. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, you've been provided with a copy of our minutes from our February 20th meeting. If there are no changes to the minutes, can we hear a motion to approve? Commissioner DeJesus?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Very good. Commissioner Looney?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from our February 20th meeting. All in favor, cast your vote and lock it in. And the motion passes unanimously. Ms. Chow, any changes to our agenda tonight?
Good evening, Chairman Rossler. No changes tonight. Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item on our agenda is oral communications. This is a time that the commission sets aside for members of the public to address the commission on items that are not on our agenda. I have one speaker slip for Victoria Bartlett. I have that right? You have 3 minutes. Come and address the commission.
I have been here before.
The microphone, pull it down for you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Good.
Okay, this is the second time I've been here in front of you guys to illustrate how dangerous our street is. And it's the third time that I have asked for help. About 8 months ago, 90% of the people living on the street signed a petition, "We need help." Nothing's done. I stayed after the last meeting, hearing some really nice concerns. I think it was Katie, I don't know. She was suggesting another street that needed a sidewalk because it was dangerous. And then another man, I think it was Don, said, well, you know, we really need more feedback from the community to say it's really dangerous. We have it. We have 90% of my people. Some of my people are coming to support me. But our street is so dangerous. It's dark. We have no lights. Also, we have no sidewalks. And we have people and children walking to the bus from our location. And we have cars speeding. We asked for speed bumps. But you know where they put the speed bumps? On Copper Drive. That stopped most of the traffic. It slowed it down. But where do they go? They go to our street and start speeding. So that's not fair either. And we do have children who parents won't let walk in the street anymore because it's dangerous. We have foliage growing into the street. Actually, in one area, it's about a yard into the street. So when you see cars come in, you're walking, let's say walking your dog or child, you don't know where to go. Because what happens, also in Ann's Way, you have a water pipe, and it pushes water down when it's getting flooded. And the water pipe from Copper Drive also has a big water pipe right there on Copper Avenue. So it just flows down on both sides of our street. And what happens is, you know, water can rule. It starts to make a deep groove on both sides of the street. and that groove is starting to get under the asphalt. You can see places where the asphalt is breaking away, and also there's deep holes where the grass is growing. You've had an incident already where a lady walking a dog fell, and an ambulance had to pick her up. I know another incident would probably be negligence on the city part, right? I don't know. But our concern is we really need something done. I don't know what it takes for someone to listen. If you have any suggestions, I don't know, but we need lights, we need sidewalks, we need our street to be safe because it's in city limits. And also another.
Your 3 minutes is up. One question for you. I'm sorry, I missed what street or Copper Avenue? Yep, I know where Copper's at. All right, thank you. All right, we will move ahead to our public hearings. One thing I did forget to mention during oral communications is that we do run a timing system here that will give you 3 minutes. And the way the system is set up, at the end of that 3 minutes, when the light turns red on the little box up here, the microphone cuts off. So you need to be precise and concise in your testimony tonight. Our public hearings will be run in the following fashion. We'll have a staff report that'll introduce the project, give the location and analysis of the project. We afford the applicant a time to make a presentation, provide additional information. I'll then open it up to discussion for questioning between the commissioners and the staff and the applicant. Then I will open the public hearing. You need to fill out a speaker slip if you'd like to address the commission. And then I will call you by name. And then after we've heard from everyone, your 3 minutes are up. I'll close the public hearing and we'll move on to discussion and a decision. So the first item we have on our agenda is the Type 20 beer and wine license for the Foothill Company. Mr. Mangasarian, I believe the staff report's yours.
Thank you, Chairman Rossler. Good evening, Chairman Rossler, commissioners, staff, and members of the public. It's my pleasure to present to you tonight an application for the Foothill Company, Inc., Chevron Extra Mile, located at 1211 East Vista Way, permit number P24-0017. Application is a request for a special use permit for the approval of an ABC Type 20 off-sale beer and wine license at an existing gas station convenience store at 1211 East Vista Way. Existing business is a Chevron Extra Mile convenience store. Hours proposed for alcohol sales are 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. daily, and no tenant improvements are requested or required for this permit. History related to alcohol sales and the current special use permit request for the subject site. July 17, 2001, site was previously approved by the Planning Commission for a special use permit for a gasoline service station, inclusive of a mini mart and a car wash, but denying the special use permit request for the off-sale of beer and wine, per Planning Commission Resolution 2001-22 per Planning Case Number PC 8-140. The request for the special use permit for the off-sale of beer and wine was denied by the Planning Commission at that time because the site was located in a San Diego Sheriff's Beat district that had a high crime rate with an FBI index crime rate of 132% of the citywide average. Crime rates above 120 are considered to be high crime. At the direction of the city manager and per the request of the San Diego County Sheriff's Department on January 31, 2024, staff facilitated an in-person meeting with the applicant to discuss operational changes at the subject site and ways to improve their current business operations. The Sheriff's Department noted that they wanted to ensure security of the site with better lighting and security systems. Also, the Sheriff's Department limited the hours of sale from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. daily and included conditions that windows shall provide a clear and unobstructed view of the cash register area. Additionally, there were conditions added to ensure that certain types of beverages that can and cannot be sold including quantity of beverages and package sizes. Furthermore, no exterior advertising of alcoholic beverages would be permitted. Also, staff included conditions of approval to address better lighting, landscaping, and exterior improvements for the building to have the site better incorporate architecturally into the surrounding area. Property is currently zoned C1 commercial, and general plan designation is CN neighborhood commercial. This is the existing site plan and the existing floor plan. Alcohol sales in the high crime beat area, beat 303, has a crime rate of 202.9% currently of the citywide average for the year 2023. An index greater than 120% is considered high crime. Census Tract 192.10 allows for up to 3 ABC off-sale licenses, and there are currently 5 existing. That includes Rite Aid, 7-Eleven, Albertsons, Sidewalk Spirits, and Holiday Liquor. This is a map of the San Diego County Sheriff's beat map. As you can see, it's located in beat 303.
Vale Terrace North.
And these are the locations of the other alcohol off-sale type 20, type 21 licenses within the ABC Census Tract. In regards to findings, the proposed use is consistent with the general plan and any applicable specific plan. The proposed use in the manner to be conducted is permitted in the applicable zone. The site for the proposed use has a size that is sufficient to reasonably accommodate the planned activities. Design, location, size, and operating characteristics of the proposed use will be compatible with the planned land uses within the vicinity. Proposed use will provide the neighborhood and the city with a service or facility that will contribute to its general welfare, and the proposed use and its operation will not be unduly detrimental to the health and safety or general welfare of persons residing or working in the vicinity. Staff's recommendation is to adopt resolution granting a special use permit for the approval of an ABC Type 20 off-sale beer and wine license at an existing gas station convenience store on a 0.93-acre site located at 1211 East Vista Way. That concludes staff's presentation. Applicant is here to answer any questions you may have, does not have a presentation, but would like to make a few remarks as well.
Okay, very good. Commissioners, questions of staff and/or the applicant?
And just real quick, staff did get one letter from a neighboring property owner in opposition, which you should have in front of you currently.
Rafi, I had a number of questions while we're waiting for the rest of the commissioners to,
Did you want to have the applicant just say a few words as well?
if they have a presentation or want to do an interview.
They wanted to make a few remarks
Okay,
beforehand.
is that Ahmed Astisha?
Ahmad? Yeah.
Okay, and Jim Bartel?
Chairman Ressler, members of the commission, thank you very much for allowing us to speak tonight. I'm here representing the Foothill Company. We appreciate the work that Mr. McAsian worked with us for several months on this, and with the Sheriff's Department and the City Manager's Office. And we're comfortable with the recommendations they're making. We're in full agreement with the conditions of approval that have been outlined in Exhibit A, I believe, and support staff's recommendation. And I'll have Ahmad Atisha, the property owner, speak next. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for having me speak. Just want to tell you my background and what I do for a living. I'm a longtime resident of San Diego County, approximately 47 years. Last 33 years, I've been in the gas station business. I want to stress my capabilities of what I've been doing the past 33 years. I have an unblemished record with the alcohol beverage control. I have no citations in the last 33 years. I want to assure the members of the community as well as the Planning Commission that I run a tight fit business. We don't mess around, especially I have the franchise behind me, which is Chevron and Extra Mile. they have a higher level of requirements in making sure the company has a great image in front of the public. Having said that, I want to let you know that that I'm investing approximately $1 million into the property. Mr. Guinness, the previous owner, he's the one that built it, and during that time, he hasn't put very much money into the site. It has lots of deferred maintenance, and it needs a refresh. And the refresh consists of canopy, signage, lights, all the aspects of a nice, clean facility. And I'm at your disposal if you have any questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Looney.
Thank you. Yeah, for staff, you had listed some statistics where there was a crime rate of 132%, and that went up to, what, 202%? If you could review those again for me, please.
Yeah, so from the Planning Commission back in 2001, the crime rate was 132% of the citywide average. I believe that's what it's referring to. And the current crime rate is 202.9%. So since 2001, it has gone up to the current level of today.
Okay. And one other question. City policy allowed for 3 liquor licenses to be issued in that area, and currently we have 5.
It's not city policy. It's set by the ABC, Alcohol Beverage Control Board, through their census tract data and population per each census tract. There's a certain number that they would allow. In this particular census tract, they do allow for 3, and currently, I believe it was 5 that existed.
Okay. Is there other areas within the city where the ABC guidelines have been exceeded with a liquor license?
There are numerous areas throughout the city where other census tracts do have higher concentrations of alcohol licenses for off-sale. There are other parts of the city that do have that, yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Rafi, in the conditions of approval, they are conditioned to end sales of alcohol at 12 a.m. How's that going to be enforced?
So the city set the regulations for 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. in accordance with the County of San Diego Sheriff's Department. They give a 16-hour block window, so 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. Once sales at 12 a.m. cease, it's up to the business owner to stop the sales of alcohol. Throughout time, San Diego Sheriff's Department may do operations to ensure that those sales are being enforced at those hours, that if they go in at 6 a.m. or 1 a.m., that there is no sales beyond those hours.
Okay. So it's up to the staff, the cashiers, to control who,
Correct.
how the sales are done. Okay. Thank you for the map of beat area 303. It says in the staff report that if they find violations, that the license can be suspended. Is that done administrative, or do they have to come back here for a subsequent public hearing?
That would be a noticed hearing in front of the Planning Commission.
Okay, all right, very good. They're also conditioned that there isn't loitering allowed on the property, and yet they have a patio and a canopy area that people have been using to eat.
Yeah, so this current license is for off-sale only, which means that they can only purchase it and take it home with them.
Okay.
They would not be able to consume it on site. What you're referring to, I believe, is the When Pigs Fly barbecue area that used to be there. They have since vacated that tenant space, which I believe the operator may be looking for a new tenant for a restaurant or a sandwich shop to be there. They would still not be able to consume on site without some kind of an approval from the ABC and with city staff for a minor use permit for a different type of ABC license.
Very good. And then, you're looking for a tenant for the kitchen area?
We have a tenant currently.
Okay. All right, very good. Any other questions of staff or the applicant? All right, we'll move ahead. This is a public hearing, and our first speaker is George Lopez. Mr. Lopez, come join us. You'll have 3 minutes.
Just want to say that I'm in favor of.
Okay, all right. And Luis Lopez, you're in favor also? All right, very good. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, then I will, anyone else wishing to address the commission on the use permit? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open it up to discussion amongst the commissioners. Commissioner Hastings.
I don't think I agree with the concept of expanding the exception of the number of liquor licenses to include this one. It may be a good one, it may be a good business owner, but the idea of 6 there just seems like too many to me.
Okay. Commissioner Grimm?
I have a little bit different perspective on it. I'm not sure if there is a relationship between a high crime area and adding another alcohol sales facility. Does that mean there's going to be a, increase in crime? I think that's pretty dubious to kind of think about that. So, and I've never seen a study in all the time that I've been involved in planning. I've never seen a study that made that jump. Yeah, that connection. So I will actually be supporting the project. I think with the standards and the conditions that are being put on by the Sheriff's Department and by our staff, and the fact that we can pull the license at any time, I think that's more than adequate. Plus, I do at times go down to that particular station. It's fairly close to my house, and it looks like it's professionally run, and they do a good job of running it. So that would be my position.
Commissioner Looney?
I believe the applicant said that they were going to do some remodeling to that facility with an increase of lighting standards. Is that correct?
Yes.
You were going to increase the lighting levels?
Yeah, they're going to improve the lighting levels, improve landscaping, and the appearance of the existing building.
Okay, have permit applications been submitted for that?
Not currently. I believe once the tenant is decided and what they want to do with the building in terms of color, materials to improve it, to get rid of that black paint corner of the building, that'll be decided. But I believe they are going to be submitting eventually for the lighting and landscaping improvements.
Okay. One thought is possibly seeing how the remodel goes and see what the lighting is like, and then maybe approving a license thereafter, or maybe they come back. But do we want to approve a liquor's license before they do the improvements on their property? That's just a point of discussion, yeah. So that would be something that I would maybe consider if the improvements were made first and then followed up with a license.
Commissioner DeJesus?
Let me see if I can get through this without coughing. I'm sorry about that. I have a different take on it, but similar to Commissioner Grimm. In my mind, we have 3 liquor licenses or 3 special use permits for 3 big retail companies and then 2 for smaller ones. And it's nice that small business gets acknowledged and allowed to do something without some bigger stipulation. If you're Albertsons, for example, and you can come in and you're kind of given a right by right to have a liquor license and no questions asked. And we have a gentleman here that's proposing to improve the shop with a history of being successful at what he does. And I don't think an extra special use permit is going to increase crime or take away from the community. In fact, if he does the improvements and creates a business that's acceptable and improves the city, then I think, I wouldn't hold him to a particular requirement in order to grant the permit. I'm in favor of the permit.
Very good.
And just to clarify, if I may, the conditions of approval do note under the planning section, the improvements do take place in terms of lighting, landscaping, architectural aesthetics. The conditions also do note that all three of those things would be subject to the satisfaction of the city planner.
Very good. In the past, I have not been in favor of use permits for sale of beer and wine, especially, I'm thinking of the 7-Eleven on the corner of Civic Center in South Santa Fe. There were day laborers that were hanging around there, and I thought it would increase problems in the neighborhood. That situation doesn't appear here, and we have an opportunity to upgrade not only the security and the lighting, but also the architecture and the landscaping. One of the things that I've always appreciated about this station is the landscaping that they do on the corner of East Vista Way and Foothill. They change their flowers annually or with the season, so it always looks pretty nice. So I think we've got enough conditions to, if there is a problem, we can react to it, and we can solve it several different ways. Commissioner Savage.
Just wanted to check one more time. With the 5 licenses, none of those are for a gas station currently, correct? It's 2 small stores and 3. Right. and then
Yes, 7-Eleven is actually a standalone store, and there are Sidewalk Spirits, Holiday Liquor, those are tenant locations.
Correct. That was it. Thank you.
Yeah.
We just approved and it just opened the Arco station a block up. Any inquiries from them about beer and wine?
Not to my knowledge at this point.
Okay, very good. All right, commissioners, any other thoughts or comments? What would be your pleasure? Commissioner DeJesus.
I make a motion to adopt Resolution 2024 granting a special use permit for the approval of an ABC Type 20 off-sale beer and wine license at an existing gas station convenience store located at 1211 East Vista Way.
Commissioner Savage?
Second that.
All right, Commissioner Grimm, discussion? Okay, all right. It's been moved and seconded to approve the resolution approving or granting the special use permit. Please cast your vote. And the motion is passed on a 5-1 vote with Commissioner Hastings voting no. Very good. All right. Okay. I can go back up there. While staff is getting set up, Mr. Ledbedt? Benjamin? We have, I'm sorry, sir, you missed oral communications, but we have a note down here that you're concerned about Copper Drive, and we will pass the Copper Avenue. Okay, we will pass this on to staff, and I would suggest that you get in contact with the planning staff after the meeting or tomorrow, and discuss your issue with them. Okay? All right, very good. Okay. Mr. Rustler, your staff report, please. The next item on our agenda is the Quick Quack Car Wash, and your staff report, please.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. The project before you tonight includes a special use permit request as well as a site development plan. The proposal is for a new Quick Quack Car Wash. The application number is P23-0298. The subject parcel is located on the northeast corner of Business Park Drive and Poinsettia Avenue. The site's approximately 1 acre, and it's currently vacant land. Surrounding land uses include commercial to the north, south, and to the west. To the east is industrial use. Staff has also provided some photographs of the existing conditions of the property. The general plan land use for the site is general commercial, which allows for commercial uses, banks, gas stations, as well as restaurants. The zoning of the property is Vista Business Park Specific Plan Area A. Permitted uses within that area include commercial, retail, and restaurant uses. The project before you tonight, again, is for Quick Quack Car Wash. That's a request for a special use permit inclusive of the site development plan. The proposal includes construction of a 3,363 square foot drive-through car wash. The improvements on site would include landscaping, parking, and other site improvements. The proposal is a drive-through car wash with complementary vacuums. Hours of operation would be 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily, and the operations of the car wash would require 2 to 3 employees on site at one time. The submitted site plan depicts a 3,363 square foot car wash building centrally located on the site, a separate pay station located to the northern portion of the site, identified in blue on the side before you tonight, as well as 9 vacuum stations. Access to the site would be provided by a new 32-foot wide driveway located at the southeast corner of the site off of Poinsettia Avenue. In regards to parking, the Vista Development Code requires a minimum of 10 parking spaces for car wash facilities. The proposal before you tonight includes a total of 12 spaces, 9 vacuum stations, as well as 3 additional parking spaces. In order to develop the site, the applicant is proposing a construction of a plantable retaining wall along the northern boundary of the site. That wall will range in height with a maximum of 9.5 feet. In regards to landscaping, a total of 23% of the site will be dedicated to landscaping, which exceeds the 15% required by the specific plan. The applicant will use native and non-native plant materials that require low or moderate water use. The floor plan on the slide before you depicts a 22-foot, 8-inch wide by 108-foot long automated car wash tunnel, as well as supportive equipment room, employee lounge, and restrooms. The building itself would be 1-story, maximum height of 29 feet. Architecturally, it depicts a typical car wash, or excuse me, a Quick Quack prototype featuring decorative masonry blocks, stucco exterior, decorative tower elements at the entry and exit of the site, or the tunnel, and enhanced with metal canopies, metal reveals, and storefront windows. Here is an example of the canopy that would be provided over the vacuum stations and be integrated with the vacuum facilities along the southern elevation of the car wash building. In regards to general plan consistency, land use element The project will include high-quality design and preserve and enhance Vista's identity and image. The project preserves and enhances the characteristics and features of neighborhoods that share common development patterns. The project supports the city's economic development strategies by attracting and retaining quality businesses. And the project would revitalize and redevelop an underutilized property. In regards to the circulation element, the project is consistent with the general plan land use designation and generates fewer than 1,000 average daily trips, which is a screened out project type for vehicles miles traveled, traffic analysis per the Vista Transportation Impact Analysis Guidelines. Pursuant to the traffic impact analysis guidelines, a local traffic analysis, transportation analysis was prepared by Linscott Law and Greenspan, dated 2023, and concluded that intersections within the project study area are calculated to operate at acceptable level of service under existing and near-term conditions, and the effects of the project-related traffic do not indicate the need for roadway improvements within the study area. In regards to a resource conservation and sustainability element, a air quality, greenhouse gas, and energy impact assessment was prepared for the project by Salem Engineering Group Incorporated, dated November 2023. That report concludes that the project will not conflict with any applicable plan, policies, or regulations of an agency adopted for the purpose of reducing the emissions of greenhouse gases. The applicant is required to comply with the California Green Building Code's standard code requirements for energy efficient buildings and appliances, as well as utility energy efficient programs implemented by San Diego Gas and Electric. The project is required to meet or exceed the energy standards established in the California Green Building Standard Code, which requires that new buildings reduce water consumption, employ building commissioning to increase building systems efficiencies, divert construction waste from landfills, and install low pollutant emitting finished materials. In regards to public safety facilities and service element, the project will be required to post placards in compliance with the National Fire Protection Association Section 704 requirements as it relates to any hazardous materials or waste that are generated, handled, used, or disposed of at the subject site. The proposed project addresses stormwater quality management plan and stormwater design requirements to ensure the system is adequate to prevent water runoff into the stormwater system and accommodate proposed car wash commercial use. The proposed car wash operation includes a water capture and filtration system that promotes water conservation and use of reclaimed water to reduce demand for potable fresh water during car wash cycles. And finally, the proposed car wash use will provide its fair share of the cost of public services, improvements, and operations through the application and payment of development fees collected at the building permit issuance stage of the project development. In regards to zoning, the project meets all the applicable development standards for the Vista Business Park Specific Plan, Area A. It's consistent with uses within the area, and adequate queuing and on-site circulation will be provided. With that, staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt a resolution granting a special use permit and a site development plan to construct and operate a 3,363 square foot drive-through car wash to include vacuum stations and associated site improvements on approximately 1 acre vacant land located at the northeast corner of Business Park Drive and Poinsettia Avenue. That concludes staff's report. Barrett Bradley and the development team are here to answer any questions the Planning Commission might have,
Okay,
as well as staff.
very good. Commissioners, any questions of staff or the applicant? Commissioner Savage.
Yeah, I just wondered if you had any insight about the letter we received from Austin Legal Group. Just wanted kind of a summary of the protest that they're giving with the CEQA. They're saying they're identifying the the CEQA requirements, they need additional information to be provided to the public. I just wondered if that was accurate.
I do have a speaker slip from Gina Austin, so
That would help
That would-
tremendously.
I think,
Yeah.
hang on, and I think we'll get to that. So, any other questions for staff or the applicant? Okay. Michael, do you have an elevation of what they're calling the quarterback station?
An elevation. I think the elevation I have here is just for the tunnel itself, but colors and materials would be similar to the tunnel. The quarterback station is basically a building that provides the employees an area to convene while they're not accepting payment for car washes. So I think the operator could provide you a little bit more information on that. But in terms architecturally, it's compatible with the remainder of the improvements on site.
Could the applicant tell us about the quarterback station?
Hey, I'm Barrett Bradley with the developer and owner. Thank you so much for your consideration of the project, Chair and Commission members. Also like to thank city staff. I mean, these little 1 acre projects seem relatively straightforward, but it takes a lot of coordination with staff. And this is our second project in the business park, and city staff's been great to work with on both of them so far. And we're super happy to be working on more stuff in the city of Vista. I have Don Shively here with me, who's from Quick Quack. He's their head of entitlements, and he can do a better job than I can explaining the ins and outs of the logistics.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Don Shively, and the quarterback station is strictly for them to, the employees to be able to congregate, to be able to pick up supplies that are needed to hand out to the customers that are coming through, being able to put their tablets in there as a secure place, and then disperse throughout the project as they are needed to hand out towels or to pick up trash that's throughout the neighborhood. But it's a small little area that's detached from the building itself. But it'll mimic the design of the tunnel.
Okay, thank you. All right, and John, did we get your question answered? Yeah, okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right. This is a public hearing, and I have a number of speaker slips. We're going to run the timing machine, so remember that you're limited to 3 minutes. When the light goes to yellow, you'll want to be summarizing, and then when it turns red, the microphone cuts off. So first up is Gina Austin, followed by Marian Ruzic.
Good evening, Commissioners and Chair. My name is Gina Austin, and let me provide some clarification to that letter. The court recently held that in order for CEQA 15332 to apply as an exemption, all of the elements of the general plan must be analyzed, and I think staff just did a great job of throwing in a whole bunch of information that the public was never aware of and hadn't been provided to this commission before this hearing, based on that letter, and looking at some of the other elements. We have not had the opportunity to determine whether or not that's accurate or not. The neighboring property owner was not noticed about the application at the beginning, and so we did not receive the reports, the LLG report, or the other reports until just this afternoon, because we were only notified of this hearing when it went up for public noticing of the hearing. Nonetheless, whether or not those statements that were made by staff are accurate, I do not know. Our experts will look at them. But what I do know, and what wasn't referenced, was in terms of the environmental and the biology. The staff presentation expressly left out the biology report that was provided by Alden, because that report identifies sensitive habitat on the site. And that is the applicant's own biologist that does that. When that occurs, the CEQA exemption 15332 cannot be used. It simply is not available. That doesn't mean that this project possibly couldn't go forward if it were through an MND or an EIR or some other process. I don't know, but I can tell you that it is improper when there is environmental habitat on that property to use the CEQA exemption 15332. And so at best, and what I just saw from the staff presentation that wasn't in anything that we saw, was that a plantable retaining wall is going to go right on top of that coastal sage scrub and some of that other sensitive habitat. And so that's not something that is allowable. And so what we're asking you is that at a minimum, continue this hearing so that proper environmental review can be conducted. Preferably, send this project back to staff to conduct that proper review and re-notice this hearing when that has been delivered to the public. I'm here and available for any questions, but I doubt you'll have any for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And is it Marvin Ruzick? Razuki.
How are you guys? I'm just a local business owner.
Name?
Marvin Razuki.
Okay.
Just a local business owner in Vista. And I just want to say that I don't have all the details and stuff like this, but I just think construction of a new car wash right now would kind of be kind of hectic. We already have a lot of traffic in Vista area and stuff like that. And I just feel like people coming in and out of that new shopping center, stuff like that, would just cause more traffic and take it longer for us to get to commute to work and stuff like that. And I just feel like every time we get down the road, it's just like a new car wash is being opened and stuff like that. So I just wanted to put that out there that I don't think a car wash would be a good idea. And also, just more traffic for us and, coming in and out of the intersections and stuff like that could just be a problem for us getting to work and, causing accidents and stuff like that. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. Sylvan Hersmis?
Yes. Sylvan Hermes. Yeah, I don't like to be cars there because it's too busy traffic in that area, because I drive too much in Vista. Like, I'm almost 24 years in Vista. It's not a good area for these cars there. It's too traffic that street.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Mr. Allen? Okay, not seeing anyone. We'll move on to Ronnie Mashis. Okay, and Isa Georges? Interesting. Okay. I have no more speaker slip. Is there anyone else that wants to address the commission on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open it up to commissioner discussion. Commissioner Looney.
Question for staff. These lots were graded, what, 20 years ago? These lots, were they graded 20 years ago?
Could get that answer, but I don't have it.
Okay. When a grading permit is issued, there is a report that deals with plant species. When we have graded slopes, would the developer be required to replant that with native species or of a plant type of his own?
the replanting or replacement of those materials.
Okay. So if there's sensitive habitat, then it was planted when the slopes were created 20 years ago when that was taken, when that pad was created then. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Grimm?
Yeah, I was just wondering if staff had any response for Ms. Austin that was especially regarding the habitat not being adequately addressed.
So Ms. Dawson raised an issue under the infill exemption 15332, citing that since the parcel contains habitat through the coastal sage scrub, therefore it's kicked out of the categorical exemption. So the language that you can find in that categorical exemption is specifically, the project site does not contain any habitat for endangered, rare, or threatened species. So when we looked at this, there's a case from 2021, Protect Tustin Ranch v. City of Tustin, 70 Calap 5th 951, that talks about this specific categorical exemption and what a site is. And in that case, they were looking at whether or not a Costco development site fit under a part of this exemption, which is that the site must be below 5 acres. In that case, even though the overall parcel was 12 acres in size, the area to be disturbed through the proposed development was 2.78 acres, and therefore the court found it was allowed to use the exemption. So similarly, in this case, you saw in the bio report the depiction that the actual area that will be developed by the proposed project does not contain the sensitive habitat. So using that, we believe it's appropriate to use this infill exemption for this project.
Okay. So staff would wish to proceed rather than with the hearing.
Yeah, and I guess just for clarification, and the project engineer could come up as well, but the retaining wall that was described to you previously is actually proposed to be constructed outside of that vegetation area. So it wouldn't disturb any resource that would be beyond the site.
I would also like to add, it's my understanding, and Mr. Ressler can chime in, that the client who Ms. Austin represents, I believe it is Genie Vista LLC, they did receive the 500-foot notice for the project, and we have a copy of that evidencing that went out to them.
So, yeah, staff provides a written notification of the hearing tonight. That was sent out within a 500-foot radius. That was sent out on February 21st, 2024. And I have two labels that identify Genie Vista LLC at 4315 Genesee Avenue, San Diego, California, 92117.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions of staff or discussion? In my mind, oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Hastings.
I just want to understand that legally, there is no requirement to continue anything here.
Based on our review of the letter and what was in the record prior to receiving and reviewing the letter and what has been added, we believe you can make a determination tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner DeJesus.
This has nothing to do with the letter. It's a different question. This particular property is zoned for this type of business, correct?
It does allow for a list of commercial uses. A car wash does require a special use permit.
Okay, thank you.
In my mind, this is a residual leftover piece of property. It would be very difficult to develop any other type of commercial The only other thing we could see is a drive-through restaurant or something along that line, and I think this is a perfectly acceptable use on this residual piece of property left over from the business park. So, any other thoughts or comments? Commissioner Savage.
I just want to bring up that it is right across the street from an existing car wash. I agree with you that this would be difficult except for maybe one of those small Starbucks or something like that. This does fit the property well, but feels a little redundant to have one across the street, but I don't have any qualms with it, so.
Commissioner DeJesus?
To piggyback on that, the point of my question earlier was whatever goes there is going to generate traffic because it's a business, it's zone business, it's going to be a business, whether it's a coffee shop or a car wash. We can't get out of the fact that whatever's going to go there is going to generate traffic. And because something is zoned a certain way, we can't be discriminatory in allowing businesses to propose that they build something on that site simply because of the type of business. A business, if it's zoned for that purpose, then somebody can come along and say they want to build something there, and we can't be judging the type. We just have to be able to be mindful that it's zoned for that use, and we can't be discriminatory. We can just listen to what they want to do and decide whether that fits it or not in our city. So I just want to speak to that. Turning down businesses because of the type of business they are or whatever is a little bit out of my, I can't make a generalization when I already know whatever is going to be there is going to generate traffic. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, very good. So what is your pleasure? Commissioner Grimm?
Based on testimony from the staff and the city attorney, I would like to move staff recommendation for approval.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve staff's recommendation. Commissioner Savage?
I'll second.
All right, motion to approve and second. The car wash, please cast your vote. And the motion passes unanimously. Very good. All right. All right, the last item on our agenda tonight is a Development Code amendment regarding supplemental parking restrictions in residential zones. Mr. Winters, your staff report, please.
Thank you, Chairman Rossler and Commissioners. We'll start the presentation here. This is public hearing item 3 for tonight. It is a code amendment regarding supplemental parking in residential zones, planning case P240042. The proposed amendment to the Vista Development Code would add a new section to the city's parking regulations as follows. It would be section 1854-105, supplemental parking space for one-family and two-family dwellings. Property owners of one-family and two-family dwellings may construct one supplemental parking space within a required front yard or other required setback from a public or private street, subject to the following requirements. The supplemental parking space shall be located immediately adjacent to the required driveway for the residential dwelling and between the driveway and the closest side lot line. The parking space shall be permanently constructed using a pavement that would either be concrete or asphalt, and the construction materials for the supplemental parking space shall match the existing material of the required driveway. Item C, the addition of the supplemental parking space shall not result in a total curb cut exceeding 40% of the street frontage. Vehicles parked on the required driveway or supplemental parking space shall remain perpendicular to the public or private street fronting the lot. Angled parking or parallel parking of the street would be prohibited. And the director may grant exceptions to the above requirements through the approval of a zoning clearance. Such determinations would be ministerial, not appealable, and exceptions to these regulations shall not be granted unless it is found that there are special circumstances or conditions applicable to the property that would make strict enforcement of the regulations infeasible or impracticable, or the alternative design, location, and size of the space will not adversely affect the health, safety, and general welfare of persons residing or working in the vicinity. Two corresponding sections of the development code would also be amended to reference the new code section 105, stating that parking is permitted in a parking area approved by the city as part of the development approval process or in a supplemental parking space pursuant to section 1854-105 of the zoning code. This is an example, just using a random aerial image from a typical residence in the city. It shows a supplemental parking space to the side of the driveway, the way that it would be configured. The key points from the code regulations are on the right-hand side of the slide. The space would be adjacent to the existing driveway and closest to the nearest side lot line. It would be paved to match the existing driveway. The requirement regarding no expansion of curb cut exceeding 40% of the street frontage, and the vehicle would be parked perpendicular to the street. Staff is requesting the Planning Commission adopt a resolution recommending the City Council's approval of an ordinance amending Chapters 836 and 1854 of the Development Code to allow for the construction of a supplemental parking space within a front yard setback of single-family and two-family residential properties. The Planning Commission's formal recommendation is anticipated to be provided to the City Council at a public hearing for this item on April 9th. That concludes staff's presentation. We also have Clarence Rich, the manager of code enforcement here, to help us answer any questions that the commission may have. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions of staff? Commissioner Looney?
Since the curb cut is in the city right-of-way, typically the city requires a license A contractor. So the owner is not going to be able to do this himself. And a contractor with license B is not going to be able to work within the city right away. So a contractor with the license A, it's going to cost them probably a lot more money if the owner can't do it himself. So is that still the policy with working within the city right away?
That's correct, and it requires a permit through the city's engineering division. We don't receive requests for that very often. It is somewhat costly for a single-family residence.
Okay. The presentation stated that the curb cut could not exceed 40% of the lot width. Would a homeowner be allowed to put a curb cut that would be limited to 40%, but yet not have the full width of the vehicle? So for example, if I was only able to expand that curb cut 6 feet, but the vehicle is 8 feet, so could I do a curb cut that's 6 feet and then
Widen it out?
Yeah, widen it out once I got onto the property? Because some of these properties get a little tight, and so I'm just wanting to see what flexibility the city's going to have to where we can legally park that vehicle off the street and onto the property.
Yes, that would be possible. It would be subject, the curb cut portion of it, any work in the right-of-way, subject to review by the engineering division. On the property, there has been and could potentially be all different manners of configurations for access to that additional parking space. We've seen angled concrete and so on.
Okay. And this, one last question, is only for an area with curb and gutter?
The code does not make that stipulation.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner DeJesus. I knew this was going to generate the most discussion tonight.
The requirement for the new parking pad, it has to be concrete or asphalt. It has to be, so if there's an existing like rock, gravel area, that's not going to work. They actually have to pour concrete.
That's correct. The idea is to match what's existing there and maintain the aesthetic of the neighborhood, hopefully. If for some reason there was a infeasibility to using the same material, the Director of Community Development would have some discretion to review that case in that situation.
I'm just wondering if the burden to make these improvements to create more parking that was desirable isn't economically burdensome.
I should also clarify that this is at the option of homeowners. It does not require a permit. What has kind of led up to this historically has been two things. Property owners coming in, asking if they can pave an additional space to park another vehicle to the side of their driveway, or in other situations where code enforcement receives complaints for how and where neighbors are parking within their front yard, grass areas, and so on. So basically, this is not a requirement for homeowners, but it's another option. So it opens up another possibility.
Thank you.
Commissioner Savage.
Are we including anything for offset from the property line of where this takes place, or can this go basically to the property line?
It could go to property line.
Okay.
And Commissioner Grimm.
When I first read this, I was kind of worried that it's basically, and I'm looking at it more from an aesthetic standpoint, but that it's going to proliferate, what's the word I'm looking for?
Proliferate?
Easy for you to say, yeah. That concrete and asphalt, you know, it stipulates right in the, you know, in the wording that it has to be concrete or asphalt. I was glad to see that you've put a little bit of discretion for the planners involved. In fact, I think in this case, I think there ought to be a lot of discretion from the planners that are reviewing this. There's a lot of things that come up. I mean, what if you want to use pavers, or you want to put pavers in between where you're extending? As you can tell, I'm kind of a paver guy. I love pavers. And is that something that can be done, or is it something where staff needs a little more discretion in this? Are you guys comfortable that you can address some aesthetics relative to this? Otherwise, we're just going to get white concrete and asphalt in these situations.
If the commission wanted to recommend that there be more leeway added into the language, we could possibly look at that as a recommendation to the council as far as the material used.
Well, so pavers would not be allowed right now.
If I can add to that discussion, there is a portion of the proposed language here that there can be exceptions to the above requirements that the director can grant. So in circumstances that it does not create a health and safety issue, that very well could be considered by the director of community development. So I think that is providing the ability for what Commissioner Graham is bringing up.
And that would be something that you would be comfortable making that decision.
Correct.
Very good, thank you.
Commissioner Looney.
Would a owner be required to do a curb cut if they added a parking space?
It is not a code requirement, no.
Okay, so if he brings his big four-wheel drive with monster tires and he doesn't need a curb cut, he can basically drive over the city curb and park on that concrete or asphalt space.
Well, the supplemental parking space would be adjacent to the existing driveway.
Okay, so they wouldn't have to do a curb cut. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hastings.
And this is something that Commissioner DeJesus said made me think, this is only for new parking spaces, right? Like,
This would be,
what if there were existing ones that didn't meet this requirement?
it's not a city-imposed requirement. It's more of an option for a homeowner if they want to add the supplemental space. We're not going to impose it.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Savage.
I just want to throw it out there that maybe one of the suggested hardscape surfaces is something more aesthetic. So pavers, pervious pavers help with, with offshed. When somebody who's not familiar with construction sees suggestions, that's the only two options that are available. And they're probably not going to be bringing in an architect, I imagine, for their driveway. So could we add that as one of the suggested options, as pervious pavers? Instead of asphalt, concrete, pervious pavers, something like that? That's the
It could
language
be
we
a
could-
recommendation to the
Yeah,
council.
that's what I would like to add to it.
If I can add to that again, I think we have to be cautious about the list, of what particular materials would be available. And I think what we're trying to do is identify what is mostly common out there that is found in terms of driveway, materials being concrete or asphalt concrete. So that's what we're trying to address, the existing conditions that we have seen out there. We could provide, more materials or choices, et cetera, but I think, again, we're trying to keep it this simple to the extent that we're addressing the common, scenarios that we have found. And again, with the exception, with the director having the ability to do the exception to the rules, certainly provides the ability to address that. And again, this is not a requirement. This is actually a code enforcement driven that occurred in neighborhoods. And certainly, I don't want to speak for Mr. Clarence Rich, who's here from code enforcement and can expand further on that. But we're trying to create more of a tool in a toolbox to address violations in the past.
Okay.
Commissioner DeJesus.
Well, speaking of you, sir, I would love to hear from code enforcement how this is going to, what would be what prompted that, and if there was any kind of insight you could add into how this would benefit code enforcement.
Good evening, Commissioner and staff. My name is Clarence Rich. I'm Code Enforcement Manager. To add to that, Code Enforcement we have 70 cases right now regarding lawn parking, in which citizens are parked on the lawn in various locations in the front lawn. They can park beside the house or behind the house, but due to some families have numerous drivers now, so they park in the front, which if I went to someone's house or an officer went to someone's house and issued a notice of code violation, they would proceed to drive around the neighborhood and find others doing the same thing. So that's what kind of prompted this, to kind of alleviate the caseload that we have regarding lawn parking.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Well,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
coming tonight. All right. Someone like to make a motion? Commissioner DeJesus.
Make a motion to adopt this resolution recommending City Council approval of the ordinance amending chapters 8.36 and 18.54 of the Vista Development Code related to supplemental parking spaces for one-family and two-family dwellings.
Commissioner Looney?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to recommend approval of the Development Code Amendment to the City Council.
I think I'm in the queue.
Commissioner Grimm has under discussion, has a comment.
I wonder if the maker of the motion would be willing to amend that to include Mr. Savage's suggestion about the pavers.
Yes, I'm going to defer to.
Let me just add one thing as a point of discussion on that potential amendment is, so the definition of paved driveway in our code, which you actually can see, it's part of the clean version of the ordinance. It is in section 18.54.120 titled Development Standards. And if you scroll down, all the way down to, it's like 7A4. It's after the figures that aren't included. So it describes in residential zoning districts, which is what we're dealing with here, what a paved driveway is. And that's where the language came from that we used for the supplemental parking spaces. So I just want you to be aware, like it was, not only is it what staff is seeing out in the field, it's because it's required in our code. So if we do amend the supplemental parking space to allow for other materials, it's going to naturally create some inconsistency, and if that's the will of the commission and the council, that's fine. I just want you to be aware that right now, those other materials are not allowed per the code.
What do you do if somebody wants to come in with an impervious driveway right now? You can't approve it?
And I thought you said that it was able to be interpreted case by case too, or
So
something.
I'm talking about the driveways. So you could have an exception for the supplemental parking space, and that's in the director's discretion if he feels that the consistency would be in the best interest of the city and based on the findings. I just want you to know what our driveway standards are.
I think Johnny's point was that, you know, somebody's probably that's a homeowner is not going to go in and be looking at the definition of pavement. They might be looking at this section, and I think that's what you were getting to. If they look at this section, they see pavers, they might be more likely to use an alternative material. It sounds like, though, that it kind of gets sticky with the original definition of you know, driveways, but I'm not sure quite how to resolve that. You're saying that basically you think we'd have to amend both sections?
I just want you to be aware that if you include it as a per se allowed material and not as an exception under the director's discretion, there's going to just be inconsistency because a driveway per our code requirements won't use that alternative material. So I just wanted you to be aware. Not saying you couldn't go that way, but I just want you to understand why we have those specific materials for the driveway.
Right, but like in a commercial parking lot, drive aisles can't be pervious pavers, right? Parking spots can. So I would imagine that it could be acceptable that only the ancillary parking spots have the pervious pavers, and that increases, you know, it helps us contribute to California's goals. That's always being thrown in commercial parking lots. And I think encouraging homeowners, oh, I could do pavers, it's a little bit cheaper and it's gonna look nicer. I just think it's a net positive for the city. So that's, I would still.
I'll keep the amendment.
Sweet.
All right, we have a motion to approve with an amendment to include in our recommendation that pavers be included in the recommendation. All right. Cast your vote, please. And the motion passes unanimously. I hope we didn't give you guys too much heartburn on that. That concludes our public hearings. Commissioners, the next item on the agenda is reports and comments from the commission members. Anyone? I have an interesting discussion or a question, and it's outside of planning, probably more with Public Works and with engineering. VID is up on Independence and Elm and Foothill, replacing the 6-inch water line. And they did a great job of filling in the trench and paving over it when they first did it. But and all the subsequent rains, their trench failure is starting to occur. And so how do we deal with that? Who's watching from the city to make sure that they go back and pave the street correctly? So
we'll coordinate with Greg Mayer, our city engineer,
okay,
follow up with him and let him know that this item was raised by you at our planning commission meeting this evening and investigate that.
super, thank you. Any other comments? Ms. Chow, your report?
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. It looks like we will not be having a meeting on March 19th or April 2nd. So I know we've been going back to back, and we appreciate you guys being here. It looks like our next meeting might end up being then on April 16th. We have about 3 items that are right now tentatively scheduled for that meeting. And I just wanted to thank the commission who joined the joint dinner meeting with the City Council, the Planning Commission, that it was a really nice experience. We were able to report out on last year's activities at that joint dinner, so thank you very much. And that's pretty much what I have, unless Director Vaca has additional things that he'd like to add.
Thank you very much, Patsy Chow. Appreciate that. I wanted to just share with the commission that it was great to hear the discussion amongst the commissioners this evening. Appreciate all the good questions. I wanted to just say, from the perspective of being a member of the audience, sometimes it's a little difficult to hear you all speak. So just a friendly reminder to speak right into the microphone. Other than that, you're doing a great job, and we appreciate your dedication.
Thank you. Yeah, Miss Guy can
Thank
be
you.
awfully quiet sometimes, so, anyway. Anything else? If there's nothing else, we stand adjourned until April 16th. Either that or I need hearing aids.